This is News Center's Voice of the Voter election night coverage, and voters are speaking very clearly tonight. Good evening. I'm Pat Callahan.
And I'm Cindy Williams. The results are in on the big questions, from a proposed merger of two cities to Medicaid expansion.
We begin with the biggest money question in terms of campaign spending, perhaps upward of $9 million. The proposal to build a casino in York County. The trend on this was clear as soon as the vote counting began, and the question is defeated by a landslide right now, with 71% of precincts reporting no, 83%, yes, 17%.
Moving on to question 2, the effort to expand Medicaid has been approved also by a wide margin, 59 to 41%.
Question 3 is a $105 million transportation bond. These typically get strong support, and so it is tonight. This will trigger $137 million in federal matching funds. Right now, that is a margin of 72 saying yes, 28% saying no.
And question 4, a constitutional amendment that would change the way the pension plans work. Basically a complicated question. A lot of voters didn't understand it, but it passed anyway, 63 to 37%.
Really a matter of bookkeeping, and something that those who understood it said, yep, let's do that. It'll save us some money and hassle over the long term.
Other states are doing it. We ought to do it this way too. News Center's Chris Casa has been covering question 1 for us. He is at Yes on 1 tonight.
Chris, even the Yes on 1 campaign saw the signs early on that this was not going to pass.
Hey, Pat and Cindy, yeah, that's right. Around 9:30, Sean Scott got up to give a short concession speech and left soon after. Scott faced a lot of scrutiny during this campaign, in particular for the funding sources tied to his campaign, as well as his ties to Maine. Scott flipped and sold the Bangor Casino in 2003, and many people worried he might do the same if given the opportunity with another casino in York County, though he said he would not do that. The project promised big benefits, including property tax relief, more jobs, and funding for schools, but the legislature's investigation into the campaign's funding sources took over much of the headlines.
I want to thank everyone for joining in what we thought and still believe is a great project for Maine, producing jobs and tax revenue and investment into Maine. This didn't go our way, but it's just how things work out sometimes.
It was about voters made decisions, and government worked at all levels, as it should. And so that's why the referendum process is important, and it may be frustrating, but voters weighed in, they made a good decision, and they had the information they needed. So it's a good day.
We tried to catch up with Sean Scott after his concession speech, but he was not available for comment. Pat and Cindy, back to you.
All right, Chris Costa in Portland, thanks. Though question 2 has been approved, voters may be skeptical about whether Medicaid expansion will stand in this form.
News Center's Don Kerrigan has the latest on that from Portland. Don.
Hi, Cindy. We're at Bayside Bowl in Portland, which has been the headquarters tonight for the Yes on Question 2 campaign, Mainers for Healthcare. They got a convincing, very solid win, nearly 60%. Is it overwhelming? That depends upon whom you ask, but it certainly would seem to send a message. Supporters were thrilled with the result. They say 70,000, more than 70,000 Mainers need the Medicaid expansion in order to have affordable health care coverage. They've been fighting this issue now for more than a year, with the petition drive, then through the campaign, and finally to tonight. And just after News Center called this race, a little after 10 p.m., why the campaign supporters, including co-chair Robin Merrill, said they're going to fight to protect the law.
More than 70,000 Mainers have waited long enough for health care. They can't wait any longer. So here's my message to you. We've won at the ballot box, we've won at the legislature, and we will make sure this law stands. Thank you all for everything you've done to make this possible. We won!
Now, the opponents of question 2 insist that Maine cannot afford this expansion. The federal government will pay the biggest share of the money, but the state will have to come up with a significant amount as well. Opponents of question 2 gave us a written statement reading in part, opponents were outspent approximately 4-1 with out-of-state liberal special interest money. Now legislators will be left to pick up the pieces and find money to pay to expand this big government program. So the focus on that now shifts back to the legislature this winter, where the legislature and the governor still opposed, most Republicans still opposed, will have to figure it out and see what happens and when. That'll be a story we'll have to keep following. Cindy and Pat, back to you.
We will do that. Thank you, Don. One of the most ambitious questions on any ballot in the state was the proposed merger of the cities of Lewiston and Auburn. But voters in the Twin Cities have rejected that by a wide margin tonight.
Christina Rex is in Auburn with people who fought hard to keep those cities separate. You just saw the numbers there, Christina. A very excited crowd.
A very excited crowd. You know, not everyone is here. We had a much bigger crowd earlier, but they're still happy. They decided to wait around for the 11 o'clock news, of course. That's because this merger was heartily defeated by 66% in Lewiston and by more than 84% in Auburn. Very excited crowd. We want to show you the moment when this crowd found out that they had won.
1,202. Do not ever again believe for a minute that you can spend $200,000, $300,000 or more from 3 or 4 contributors, and that we're just going to roll over and let you take our cities away from us. We will fight you every step of the way.
And that was the chair of COLAC, which is the coalition against the merger. He was talking about the fact that he doesn't want to hear the word merger in these two cities for another 100 years. He urged chamber leadership to reevaluate its priorities in the future. And this group says they're not only excited about the fact that this merger, didn't pass today and that there will be no merger, but they're looking forward to reevaluating the priorities in both Lewiston and Auburn and focusing on issues separate from the merger. Live in Auburn tonight, I'm Christina Rex. Pat and Cindy, back to you.
Thank you, Christina. Voters in Lewiston were also choosing a new mayor tonight, but they're not quite finished. With the retirement of Republican Bob McDonald, 5 people were running for this seat. Ben Chin and Shane Bouchard were the top 2 vote getters, so they will have a runoff on December 12th. You see Chin with 42%, Bouchard with 29% in that 5-way race.
Voters in the city of Portland have rejected a controversial ordinance that would have imposed restrictions on rent increases as well as evictions. Supporters of question 1 say rent control was needed to provide more affordable housing and protect tenants, but it failed to pass with 64% of voters rejecting rent control. NewsEditor's Vivian Lee has more in this report.
The Say No to Rent Control campaign say Portland voters sent a clear message that they do want affordable housing, but they don't want rental control restrictions that could negatively impact the rental market. Throughout the campaign, landlords and developers said the ordinance will curb development, which is needed to drive rents down. They also say it will discourage property owners from upgrading their apartments. Supporters of question 1, though, say a spike in rents over the past several years has pushed more and more low and middle income residents out of Portland, and the market needed to be stabilized.
Well, I mean, the housing crisis that we face is immense. Tens of thousands of people have incredible insecurity of being priced out of their homes, and we faced incredibly well-funded opposition that profits off that situation.
You can care about the challenges we have as a growing community in the city of Portland, and yet not want your housing policy created by a small group of activists. I think that's the message tonight. We want to look forward.
The hope is the vote will bring all sides together, including activists and those at City Hall, to work together to bring more affordable housing to the community. In Portland, Vivian Lee, News Center.
The Portland City ballot had 2 competing school renovation questions. Would they approve 4 elementary schools being revamped or just 2? They have chosen 4. Right now with 100%, well, all the votes are in, 65% of Portland voters said they want to renovate 4 elementary schools. 35% said no.
When News Center comes back, we're going to have Bill Nimitz and Ray Richardson here in the studio to help us take a closer look at tonight's results.
And later, we're heading down to the vaults in Bob's basement. Bob Elliott finds that for one family, lobstering really is in the blood. With our News Center Voice of the Voter coverage, we want to take a few minutes to take a closer look at some of tonight's results. We are joined by Bill Nimitz of the Portland Press-Herald and Maine Sunday Telegram, and Ray Richardson of WLOB Radio and the Maine Lobster Network. Gentlemen, good to see you.
You too.
Let's begin at the beginning. Question one: casinos went down big here in York County. What killed it, Bill?
Well, I think it was two words: Sean Scott. I mean, he tried very hard late in this race to say this is not about me, but when you put an issue on the ballot, or you put a question on the ballot that can only pertain to you, it's kind of hard not to make the race about you. And in the end, that's what happened. It went down big time.
Is that it?
I'll part of the way agree with Bill. It is two words, but I think it's Roy Leonardson. The Shady Sean campaign, he hammered them for months without much of a response.
Yeah. But way outspent, you know.
No doubt, but you can't go anywhere without Shady Sean signs everywhere.
That's true.
The Medicaid expansion bill passed comfortably. Do you think the legislature is going to let it stand for it?
Man, I don't know where they're going to come up with the money. That's the biggest problem they're going to face. As you know, we shut down the state government last summer over a few $1 million. This is a lot of money. I don't know how they fund it.
There's a lot of talk right now about how past referenda have been overturned. We're going into an election year. Maine voters have consistently wanted this year after year after year. Governor's veto has prevented it. I think anybody who messes with this in the next 12 months is going to do so at their own political risk.
And the fact is, you've had the legislature consistently supporting this, not by a veto-proof margin, but a majority. So you have to wonder if maybe this is just going to stand. And now they got to, as you say, where do you find that money? There aren't that many couch cushions in Augusta.
Well, there aren't. They're going to have to raise taxes, or they're going to have to dramatically cut other services. It's one or the other.
One of the biggest problems in the city of Portland is the problem of affordable housing. Some people thought the way to address that was through rent control. Clearly, voters have decided it's not. Bill, what do you make of that?
Well, it's interesting that Portland is a city of 60% renters, yet this thing failed so resoundingly. I think people looked at this, and even those who feel like there has to be some solution to the affordable housing situation looked at this and said, how's this going to work, for one thing? I mean, you have this civilian board which would be charged with so much administrative work. How are they going to do it? I mean, these people would be working 8 days a week just to stay ahead of it.
You're not going to believe this. I'm going to give my buddy Bill's paper credit.
Big hug. Big hug.
I think it was the Press-Herald editorial that did it. If the Press-Herald was against it, I think it really worked.
The Nose had a good ad campaign as well, saying we're for affordable housing, but this doesn't do it.
Absolutely, and that's what the Press-Herald said, that this didn't solve the problem they were trying to solve.
People in Lewiston-Auburn said, no, we do not want to become one city. Were you at all surprised by that?
Not at all. I mean, you know, if you have roots in those towns, you know what it means to be from Auburn and be from Lewiston.
So
Why
you
would
think
you
it was
want to do
more
that?
emotional,
Absolutely,
emotional
sure.
response?
Yeah.
I love the quote from one woman who said, if we merge with them, we get all their problems.
I guess that about spells it out for a lot of people.
Right.
No doubt.
Finally, let's take a look nationally. Democrats won 2 governor's races tonight, one in New Jersey and then one in Virginia. Does it say anything beyond those 2 states about where the Democrats and Republicans are right now?
Democrats had to win these, and they did, and they won them strongly and early, and I think it's pretty much what everybody expected. The interesting in Virginia, though, it seems to be going beyond the governor's office and going down into the lower offices as well. It looks like a bit of a Democratic sweep there, so yeah. I think that's significant.
Democrats began the day way down in the House of Delegates that they have, and they may end up in charge or at least a very close margin.
I think it's much like the special session elections in the House of Representatives earlier this year. Republicans were supposed to win, they did. Democrats were supposed to win here, they did. I don't really know what it means. The president seems to think it means something, but I don't know if it really means anything beyond that.
All right, Ray Richardson, Bill Nemitz, thanks for being with us, and we'll see how all the dominoes settle when the dust clears. The Mercury is going to be taking a dive by week's end. Jess Conley has your forecast next on News Center.
And still ahead, a hunter is facing charges in the shooting death of a woman in Hebron. The news continues in a moment.
With temperatures lingering below freezing at night in some parts of the state, making skiers and snowboarders all over the state dust off the boards and start waxing up. So Sugarloaf got Mother Nature's hint and started making snow today.
That's right. The mountain is aiming to have its opening day right around Thanksgiving Day, and it has already made lift tickets available on its website.
And we're not just talking about artificial snow tonight.
We got the real stuff. Jess Conley's so excited.
I'm so excited. We had a couple of flakes out here earlier in Portland. Many spots along the coast actually saw a few snowflakes. Who's not excited about that, right? Cold front moving through. We did see, again, just a couple flakes. Not expecting anything in the way of accumulation, but something to make it feel at least a little bit more festive, mainly right along the coast with that cold air behind the front. We can zoom in a little bit. You can see earlier Portland saw a few wet snowflakes mixing in, pretty much again the same thing all along the coast. Still seeing a few snowflakes, it looks like right now on MDI, Bar Harbor area, seeing some up to Blue Hill, Stonington, might be seeing some Deer Isle as well. So look outside if you get a chance, you might see a few flakes in the air tonight. All right, we're going to talk about cold temperatures though, because that's where we're going as we get into the end of the week. It has been a while since we've seen 20s and teens. Portland, we haven't seen temperatures in the 20s since April 9th. Bangor, we haven't seen them in the 20s since April 4th. The teens, it's been even longer, of course, back into the end of March. 212 and 216 days since we've seen temperatures in the 20s. But guess what? Some of us are heading there tonight. Many spots away from the coast will drop down into the upper 20s overnight. Bangor, that means you too. Along the coast, most of us will stay in the low 30s tonight. Either way, it's going to be chilly when you're waking up early tomorrow, so just be ready for that. Hopefully you got the jackets out already. Skies will clear out through the day tomorrow. It looks like it's going to stay mostly sunny. However, temperatures not going to be able to warm up very much. Most of us top out tomorrow in the low to mid 40s. And then another chilly night Wednesday night into Thursday, dropping back down into the upper 20s and lower 30s overnight. Thursday's not looking too bad, though. We'll see some sunshine hang on for much of the day. Temperatures only warming up into the low to mid 40s again, with some clouds moving in by Thursday afternoon and evening. And then temperatures get cold again Thursday night into Friday. I think many of us will make it down into the 20s by Friday night and into early Saturday morning. Some of us are even going to see temperatures drop all the way down into the teens. It's going to get pretty chilly. The other thing we're watching for Friday is the potential for more snow. For tomorrow, though, seas 4 to 6 feet. There is a small craft advisory in effect for the day. Winds from the northeast at 10-15 knots could gust as high as 25 knots. But let's look at this extended forecast so you can really see the temperatures here. It is going to be quite chilly. Once we get into Friday morning, we're talking about temperatures in the 20s to start Friday. But once we get into this weekend, especially if you're away from the coast, those temperatures are going to be chilly. Many of us could drop down into the lower teens. This is the time that you don't want to forget about the pets. Make sure they are nice and warm as well. Highs on Friday only make it into the 30s after seeing some snow showers. All weekend it stays pretty chilly. In fact, by Monday, it looks like we could even see a mix of precipitation. We're talking another round of some snow possible. So guys, I guess enjoy the warm 40s for the next couple of days, because after that, teens at night and 30s during the day, it is going to feel pretty chilly. Guys?
Wow. Had to happen sometime, but still that's going to be a shock to the system. When we come back, in the news tonight, a woman from Troy accused of killing her 7-week-old baby learned her fate in court. We're going to tell you what that verdict is.
And a recap of tonight's Voice of the Voter election results. A woman from Troy has been convicted of killing her 7-week-old baby. Miranda Hopkins was found guilty late today of manslaughter in the death of her son, Jackson. The child was found severely beaten in January. At the time of her arrest, Hopkins reportedly told police that it must have been one of her 2 sons, who are both on the autism spectrum, who had beaten the child. But on the stand, Hopkins changed her story, saying that she told police that because she didn't want them to know that she had been drinking and taking drugs that night.
The state's very pleased with the verdict that the jury rendered this evening. It was always our belief that the defendant was responsible for the death of baby Jackson and not her children.
She's quite upset, heartbroken. We know that she didn't do this, and it's quite a shock to the family.
Hopkins is scheduled for sentencing in December and could face up to 30 years in prison.
The man who wardens say shot and killed a woman on opening day of rifle hunting season has been charged with manslaughter. Karen Rensel was hit with a bullet while she was in the woods on her property in Hebron on October 28th. Authorities say Robert Trundy was hunting with his father when Rensel was shot. Wardens have not released many details about the circumstances surrounding Rensel's death. Trundy is expected to make his first court appearance tomorrow in Oxford County Superior Court.
Police in Augusta are still investigating a shooting incident at a Walmart store last night. They say that this man, Robert Potter, was inside the store when he got into an argument with another customer. That is when Potter reportedly pulled a gun and brandished it. The other man tried to disarm him, and that's when the gun went off. No one was hit, but a woman who had just entered the store ran back outside to her car, and that is where police say she suffered a medical event and died later. Potter was also taken to the hospital and is now being treated for an undisclosed reason. He had been charged with criminal threatening with a dangerous weapon. That is a felony.
Let's take one more look at tonight's Voice of the Voter election results. And when we come back to Bob's basement. For York County goes down big, 83 to 17%, with 78% of the results in.
Question 2 would be the Medicaid expansion question. That passed handily, 59 to 41%.
Question 3 is a transportation bond, $105 million. Voters say yes, 72 to 28%.
And question 4 had to do with changing the way the pension fund is managed in this state. That passed, 63 to 37%.
I'll tell you another thing I don't know. This year I'm thinking of getting either one. You may not know this, but I'm gonna fish. It was a clean, crisp morning. My destiny.
Many lobstermen will tell you that fishing is in their blood, and we can see proof of that tonight as we dust off another story from Bob's basement.
Bob Elliott introduces us to a little girl hard at work with her great-grandfather pulling traps off Bailey Island.
There's a new lobster team out on Bailey Island this year. Meet Clayton Johnson and his great-granddaughter, Kendra.
I can do that.
Pull it right up taut, that's it.
Between them, they've got 62 years of experience. Clayton started in 1931. Kendra started last week.
Push it. Push it. Watch it, don't get around that stuff there. Okay.
As you might expect, this odd couple gets a lot of strange looks out on the high seas. Is it any wonder? Most men this age have long since retired. Most kids are still on the playground. But not Kendra. Her father, her grandfather, and her great-grandfather have all been lobstermen. She couldn't wait to get into the business.
I first got this idea when I was like 1 or 2, because my grandfather used to take me out a lot.
You're an official Maine lobsterman?
Yes.
With a license and everything?
Yes.
How you doing so far?
Well, pretty good.
I think so.
How much money you made?
$15.
Wow. Kendra may take over her great-grandfather's business someday, but she may have to wait a while. Clayton may be almost 86, but he's still going strong.
I went to the doctor last month for my checkup, and he says, I just let a fellow out the hospital, he says, to go home. And he's 104 years old. And he says, I don't see why you won't live this long.
Clay Johnson has slowed down a bit over the years, but now he's got a son, a grandson, and his great-granddaughter Kendra to help him out. As long as this family's around, the lobsters of Bailey Island don't stand a chance.
There we go, one.
Man, his claw came off.
On Bailey Island, Bob Elliott, News Center.
Love those stories.
You want to learn from the best.
Yeah, I wonder what Kendra's doing now at 30.
Maybe he's still pulling traps.
Mid-30s, maybe.
There was a lot of shrieking in the newsroom tonight. I thought it was about election results, but no, it was someone out on the weather deck.
So exciting.
It was snowing.
It was snowing. Finally, there was so much excitement from me and most everyone. Not everyone was quite as pumped, though. I don't understand. Tomorrow looks good. Mostly sunny. Temperatures will make it into the mid-40s. It is going to be cooler for the next few nights, much cooler. Tomorrow night, we're down into the upper 20s. Thursday night, we're in the low 20s. And then this weekend, it all goes way downhill. Yeah, highs only in the 30s Friday and Saturday. Another chance for a few snowflakes Friday morning. Again, not looking at accumulation, maybe just a few snow flurries around. Be careful on the roads, though. Could see some slick spots, especially away from the coast tonight.
Got to get used to it.
Yep. And Saturday, last football game of the season, I don't think we've had a game under 60 degrees yet.
It's going to be chilly
38
on Saturday. Yeah.
That is News Center. Thanks for being with us.
Have a great night, everybody.